Hello, esteemed gentlemen. He's not single because he can't find love. He's single because mediocrity keeps finding him. Every once in a while, you meet a man who seems perfectly fine being alone, not bitter, not heartbroken, just unbothered. The world calls him mysterious. Women call him confusing. And psychologists quietly label him avoidant. But here's the twist. Sigma males aren't avoiding love. They're avoiding noise. Research actually shows that people who score higher on self-sufficiency and independence experience deeper levels of internal peace and purpose, even when they're single. That's not loneliness, that's emotional high ground. And for Sigma males, relationships often feel like giving up that hard-won freedom for someone else's chaos. While most guys are out here swiping right to fill silence, the Sigma male is too busy making silence mean something. He's the man who can turn solitude into an art form, the type who'll rather have one brutally honest conversation with himself than 50 surface-level ones with someone who doesn't get it. So why do Sigma males rarely have girlfriends? It's not because they're broken or impossible to love. It's because the average relationship demands a version of them that's less authentic, less intense, and far more domesticated. And trust me, a Sigma would rather eat cereal alone in peace than compromise his essence for a fake kind of together. Now let's break down 12 brutally honest reasons Sigma males rarely have girlfriends, and wait till you hear number 12, because that one hits like truth with no warning label. Number 1. They don't confuse chemistry with compatibility. Sigma males understand something most people never grasp, that chemistry is not the same as compatibility. Chemistry can feel electric, addictive, and impossible to resist. It's that spark that makes your heart race, that magnetic pull that convinces you you've found the one. But to a Sigma, that same spark can be a warning sign, because they know chemistry is often just biology dressed as destiny. It's excitement, not alignment. It's emotional caffeine that gives a rush, then leaves you drained. A Sigma male doesn't get hypnotized by intensity. He's seen how powerful attraction can mask deeper incompatibilities, different values, opposite goals, or conflicting emotional depths. He's learned that lust can imitate love with stunning accuracy, but it can't sustain it. So while others mistake butterflies for fate, the Sigma steps back and studies the pattern. He doesn't trust the rush. He knows the same person who thrills you in the beginning might exhaust you in the end. That doesn't mean he's cold or detached. He feels everything deeply. But he's disciplined enough not to let feelings vote when decisions matter. He'd rather walk away from an intense connection that's wrong for his peace than stay in one that feels right for a moment. To him, emotional stability is more attractive than fireworks that burn out. Most people call this detachment. It's not. It's discernment. The Sigma male doesn't want someone who only stimulates his senses. He wants someone who aligns with his purpose, his pace, and his silence. Someone who doesn't confuse chaos with passion or think constant drama equals love that's real. He wants peace that doesn't feel boring and closeness that doesn't feel suffocating. The brutal truth is, this mindset eliminates most people. Because when the Sigma walks away from a connection everyone else would kill for, it looks heartless. But to him, it's integrity. He knows it's crueler to stay in something fake than to leave something intense. So he walks, not out of fear, but out of respect for what love should be. That's why Sigma males rarely have girlfriends. They don't settle for sparks that fade. They wait for the flame that lasts. And until that kind of rare connection appears, solitude isn't punishment. It's protection. Number 2, they don't need love to feel whole. Sigma males don't need love to feel whole, and that's what makes them both fascinating and misunderstood. Most people build their identity around connection. They seek love to feel validated, seen, or complete. But a Sigma male builds from the opposite direction. He fills his own gaps first. He's learned to sit with himself in silence long enough to understand what he truly needs. And by the time he's done, there's not much left for someone else to complete. This doesn't mean he's emotionless. It means he's mastered emotional independence in a world addicted to emotional dependency. He doesn't crave constant reassurance or attention to feel valuable. His worth isn't measured by who texts him good morning or how often someone says, "I love you." He knows that love, when it's real, should add to life, not replace what's missing. And since he's already built peace within himself, most relationships that come from loneliness or fear of being alone just feel unnecessary. The irony is, this independence makes people both admire and fear him. Some see it as confidence, others mistake it for arrogance. But what they don't understand is that the Sigma's wholeness is hard-earned. It's built from years of solitude, self-confrontation, and brutal honesty. He's been through emotional droughts where no one showed up, and instead of collapsing, he learned to become his own source of stability. That kind of strength changes what you look for in a partner. Most people enter relationships hoping someone will fill the holes inside them. Sigma males can't relate to that. They enter relationships only when they find someone who doesn't disrupt their peace, someone whose presence enhances what's already there instead of replacing it. And since that kind of connection is rare, they'd rather stay single than settle for emotional dependence disguised as love. The brutal truth is, a Sigma male doesn't need anyone, and that's exactly why his love, when he gives it, carries so much weight. It's not born from emptiness. It's a conscious choice. He's not looking for someone to fix him or save him. He's looking for someone who can walk beside him without trying to own his freedom. Until that happens, his solitude isn't a gap waiting to be filled. It's a fortress that no ordinary relationship can enter. Number 3, they recognize that most love is just fear of being alone. Sigma males have a brutal kind of clarity when it comes to love. They see how much of it is just fear in disguise. They've watched people jump from one relationship to another, not because they've found something deep, but because they can't stand the silence of being alone. They see partners who mistake emotional dependence for passion and clinginess for care. To the Sigma, that's not love. It's a quiet panic dressed up as affection. They can sense when someone's attraction is coming from emptiness rather than genuine connection. When someone loves just to escape loneliness, that energy feels heavy. It's not partnership, it's rescue work. And a Sigma male refuses to play savior in someone else's emotional storm. He'd rather be single forever than trapped in a bond built on fear of isolation. For him, love should be two complete people choosing each other, not two incomplete people clinging together for safety. He knows real love is calm, not desperate. It's freedom, not possession. But most of what passes for romance today is about escaping solitude, not sharing it. That's why when a Sigma senses that someone's love is more about not being alone than being with him, his attraction disappears immediately. It's like emotional counterfeit. It looks right from afar, but it has no real value up close. The irony is, this makes him seem cold to those who've never known self-sufficiency. They can't understand how someone can turn down affection so easily. But the Sigma isn't rejecting love. He's rejecting imitation. He doesn't want to be anyone's emotional crutch or comfort blanket. He wants a partner who can stand on their own, face the same silence he does, and still choose him. Not out of fear, but out of respect and resonance. In his world, love built on fear is a trap. Love built on wholeness is liberation. That's why he's so selective, so rarely impressed, and so misunderstood. Most people want company. He wants connection. And until he finds that kind of fearless love, he'll stay alone. Not because he's afraid of loneliness, but because he refuses to settle for its prettier version. Number 4. They carry unspoken standards that terrify mediocrity. Sigma. Males carry standards so unspoken they can make even confident people second-guess themselves. It's not because they're arrogant or impossible to please. It's because they've outgrown the surface-level traits most people call attractive. They're drawn to quiet depth, unshakable integrity, and a kind of calm energy that doesn't need to perform to be felt. They crave conversations that stretch the mind, silences that don't feel awkward, and connections that don't need validation from the crowd. But they never announce these standards. They don't hand out checklists or explain what they're looking for. They just watch. And that's what unnerves people. Their attention feels like an X-ray. It reveals who's genuine and who's playing a role. While most people are busy trying to impress, the Sigma notices what they do when no one's watching. That's where truth hides, and that's what he builds his judgments on. What terrifies mediocrity is that there's no way to perform your way into a Sigma's respect. Fake confidence, recycled flirting, trend-driven personalities, they all collapse under his quiet scrutiny. He doesn't respond to loud charisma or empty ambition. He wants rawness, thoughts that are unfiltered, emotions that are real, and principles that don't shift with convenience. Most people aren't used to being measured by that scale, and it unsettles them. A Sigma male can sit across from someone charming and polite, yet feel absolutely nothing. But give him someone authentic, even awkwardly so, and his respect ignites. His standards aren't about perfection, they're about truth. And truth is something most people avoid because it demands self-awareness, the very thing mediocrity fears the most. That's why relationships with a Sigma often don't even begin. Most people can't stand the pressure of being seen without filters. They crave admiration, not reflection. But a Sigma offers the latter, and it's not always comfortable. To be around him is to feel silently challenged, to step up, to think deeper, to mean what you say. He doesn't demand perfection, he just won't settle for pretense. And in a world addicted to surface approval, that kind of quiet standard doesn't just intimidate mediocrity, it exposes it. Number 5, they've been the emotional anchor too many times. Sigma males have a quiet strength that naturally draws people who are struggling. They listen without judging, they stay calm when others panic, and they make chaos feel manageable. That emotional steadiness makes them look like a safe harbor. The kind of person you run to when life hurts. But over time, that gift has cost them more than it's ever given back. They've been the emotional anchor too many times, and it's changed how they see relationships forever. They've been with partners who didn't want love, they wanted rescue. These people fell in love not with who the Sigma truly was, but with what he could do for them. The peace he carried, the wisdom he shared, the stability he never asked for credit for. And at first, the Sigma gives it freely. He listens, he steadies, he heals. But slowly, he realizes the dynamic isn't love, it's dependency. The more he gives, the less the other person grows. And that realization cuts deep. Because to the Sigma, relationships are meant to elevate both people, not turn one into the therapist and the other into the patient. He doesn't want to be anyone's emotional rehab center. He wants partnership, two self-aware people building strength together. But when he feels someone leaning on him just to avoid facing their own reflection, he knows how that story ends. He'll be drained, and they'll still be lost. So now, he recognizes the signs early, the subtle victim tone, the constant need for reassurance, the way someone mistakes his calmness for a permanent safety net. And the moment he senses it, he quietly disappears. Not out of cruelty, but out of self-preservation. He knows what it's like to carry someone else's emotional weight, until he starts to sync with them. What makes it even more painful is that his withdrawal is often misunderstood. People think he's cold or heartless, but the truth is he's protecting his peace, not abandoning anyone. He's learned that love should empower, not enable, and he refuses to play the hero in a story where saving someone means losing himself again. That's why Sigma males seem so detached now, not because they can't love, but because they've loved in ways that nearly emptied them. Number 6. They know attraction often dies when mystery ends. Sigma males have learned, often through painful repetition, that human fascination has an expiration date. In the beginning, people are drawn to their quiet intensity, their unpredictable aura, and the feeling that there's something beneath the surface they'll never fully grasp. It's magnetic, that combination of calm, confidence, and emotional depth. But over time, they've noticed a pattern. Once people think they've figured them out, the intrigue fades, and what was once mysterious becomes ordinary. This realization shapes how Sigmas approach connection. They understand that, for many people, curiosity masquerades as affection. The interest isn't always in who they are, but in the thrill of discovering them. Once the mystery feels solved, the excitement dies, and so does the attraction. To the Sigma, that kind of love feels shallow, transactional even. It's not about connection, it's about novelty. And he refuses to be anyone's temporary fascination. He's seen it too many times. People drawn to his calm energy, his depth, his solitude, until they realize that depth comes with silence, introspection, and emotional honesty that can't always be packaged neatly. Once the fantasy cracks, they lose interest. The Sigma doesn't blame them. He just stops offering himself so freely. He's learned that some people fall in love with the idea of him, not the reality, and that kind of love is destined to fade. So he holds back. He doesn't reveal everything, not out of manipulation, but out of protection. He knows mystery isn't a game, it's a boundary. It preserves authenticity. It keeps his spirit from being turned into someone else's temporary adventure. When he keeps parts of himself private, it's not about being distant. It's about maintaining the sacredness of what makes him whole. This guardedness often confuses others. They call him detached or emotionally unavailable, but that's not the truth. He's just tired of performing his depth for people who won't stay long enough to appreciate it. The Sigma understands something most never do. Real connection doesn't come from solving someone. It comes from respecting that you never fully can. That's why he protects his mystery like armor. It's not about control. It's about survival in a world that confuses curiosity with love and novelty with depth. Number 7. They're at war with predictable emotions. Sigma males are wired differently when it comes to emotions. They can't stomach the rehearsed feelings that dominate most relationships. The forced apologies, the predictable affection, the good morning texts that feel more like rituals than genuine connection. They crave emotions that feel raw, spontaneous, and real, not ones that follow a cultural script. When someone reacts exactly how society says they should, perfectly polite, conveniently timed, always appropriate, the Sigma feels nothing. To him, it's emotional acting, not emotional truth. He's not interested in relationships that run like routines. He doesn't want to love on a schedule or feel according to tradition. What he wants is something unpredictable, not dramatic, but alive. A partner who doesn't say, "I'm fine," when they're clearly not, who doesn't hide behind passive smiles, who's honest enough to let messy emotions spill out when they matter. He respects rawness because it's proof of depth. If emotions aren't a little chaotic, he suspects they're fake. That's why he struggles in most romantic setups. Society trains people to perform feelings, to say the right thing at the right time, to text back with the perfect emoji. to cry just enough to seem vulnerable, but not enough to be real. It all feels mechanical, like love has become a well-rehearsed play. The Sigma sees through it instantly, and it turns him off. He doesn't want politeness. He wants authenticity, even if it's uncomfortable, awkward, or inconvenient. He knows that predictable emotions make predictable relationships, and that's a slow death to someone who lives for emotional honesty. He doesn't want smooth. He wants true. He wants reactions that reveal who a person really is when no one's watching, not how well they've mastered emotional etiquette. This is why Sigma males often get labeled as emotionally intense or even difficult. But they're not difficult. They're allergic to pretense. They'd rather deal with someone brutally honest and messy than someone perfectly pleasant but hollow. They crave the kind of love that feels unscripted, where emotions don't follow a template but grow out of truth. To the Sigma, predictability isn't comfort. It's the death of connection. Number 8. They intuitively know when they're being observed. Sigma males have an uncanny sensitivity to energy, especially the kind that comes from being watched. It's not paranoia, it's perception. They can feel when someone's attention shifts from connection to observation. The tone changes, the air thickens, and suddenly every action feels like it's being graded. Most people don't even realize they perform when they're liked, but a Sigma feels it immediately. That subtle transformation from authenticity to audition. And nothing kills his interest faster. For him, connection should flow naturally, not exist under the pressure of expectation. When someone starts analyzing his words, mirroring his tone, or overreacting just to please him, it breaks the rhythm. He feels the hidden need for approval behind the laughter, the curiosity that's no longer pure but probing. To others, this attention feels flattering. To a Sigma, it feels invasive, like being emotionally studied instead of emotionally seen. That's why he often retreats just when someone thinks they're getting close. It's not shyness, it's self-preservation. The moment he senses that he's become someone's fascination project or emotional mirror, he instinctively pulls back. He refuses to perform to keep anyone's affection alive. His entire identity is built on being ungoverned, and the idea of being watched, even with love, feels like a quiet form of control. Most people confuse attention with intimacy, but a Sigma doesn't. He knows genuine connection doesn't require an audience. It thrives in freedom. When someone loves him without trying to decode him, without trying to fit him into their story or image, that's when he feels safest. But when he feels that subtle gaze, when someone's love turns into observation, he becomes a shadow of himself. This sensitivity is why Sigma males are drawn to people who are effortlessly self-contained. Those who don't need to analyze every silence, who can sit in a moment without dissecting it. Because to a Sigma, that's real connection, not the kind built on constant attention, but the kind that exists quietly, without performance. So when he shuts down under someone's gaze, it's not rejection, it's rebellion. He's protecting his authenticity from turning into theater, because for him, being seen is beautiful, but being watched feels like a cage. Number 9, they carry silent emotional scars that refuse to heal publicly. Sigma males carry wounds that few people ever see, not the dramatic kind that come from heartbreak, but the deep, quiet ones left by betrayal of authenticity. They've opened up to people who promised to understand them, but ended up misunderstanding their silence, judging their depth, or exploiting their honesty. These experiences didn't just hurt, they reshaped their entire view of connection. They learned that vulnerability in the wrong hands becomes ammunition, and ever since, they've guarded their inner world like sacred ground. Their scars don't bleed, they whisper. They show up in the way a Sigma pauses before trusting, the way he listens more than he speaks, the way he keeps his emotions coded in subtle gestures rather than words. It's not that he doesn't feel. He feels deeply. But he's not willing to offer that depth to a world that treats emotions like social currency. He's seen too many people claim they want real until they actually meet it. Then they flinch, retreat, or label it too much. So he stopped showing the full spectrum of what's inside him, not out of coldness, but out of wisdom. Some things are too sacred to share with those who only want fragments of the truth. He's learned to heal privately, to process his pain in silence rather than perform it for sympathy. To most people, this makes him seem detached, maybe even unfeeling. But that's far from the truth. His emotions are still there, fierce and alive, but they live behind walls built for survival. Every Sigma male has that one invisible moment, a time when he gave someone his raw honesty and watched it be mishandled. That's the scar that never fades. And instead of reopening it through endless attempts at being understood, he accepts solitude as the price of peace. It's not bitterness, it's clarity. He knows that real healing doesn't need witnesses, and real strength doesn't need applause. That's why his solitude isn't empty. It's sacred. He's not hiding from people. He's protecting the parts of himself that the world never learned to handle gently. Those silent scars are his reminder that peace, once earned through pain, is worth guarding for life. Number 10. They're too self-aware to play romantic illusions. Sigma males are cursed and blessed with a level of self-awareness that makes it nearly impossible for them to get lost in the illusions most people call romance. They can see the hidden gears turning behind every interaction, the subtle power plays, the calculated pauses, the emotional exchanges designed to manipulate affection. It's not cynicism, it's perception. They simply notice what others ignore. They can tell when someone is being vulnerable to connect versus when they're being vulnerable to gain sympathy. They can sense when affection is sincere and when it's part of a performance meant to secure attention. This awareness makes ordinary romance feel staged. The small talk, the strategic compliments, the social rituals of dating, it all feels like theater to them. Where others find charm, they find choreography. It's hard for them to be swept away when they can see the psychology behind every gesture. They know that good communication often means carefully edited honesty. They know that flirting sometimes masks insecurity, and that emotional transparency is often just emotional marketing. Once they see that, they can't unsee it, and the illusion collapses. They don't despise love, they just can't pretend. They crave something unfiltered, the kind of bond that doesn't rely on scripts or tactics. But in a world where everyone's playing a role, that kind of connection is nearly extinct. So they pull back. They'd rather stay alone than participate in a romantic masquerade where feelings are managed like public relations. Their honesty is too raw for the stage. People often misread this as being distant or too analytical, but that's not it. The Sigma simply can't turn off his perception to enjoy what he knows is an act. He's not impressed by romantic gestures that are borrowed from movies or social trends. He's moved by the rare person who can express emotion without performance, who says what they mean, not what will sound right. In the end, this hyper-awareness isolates him. It strips the fantasy from romance and replaces it with brutal realism. Yet deep down, he still believes in genuine connection, just not the kind the world performs for attention. He's not afraid of love. He's just unwilling to pretend it's real when it isn't. Number 11. They treat compatibility like quantum physics. For Sigma males, compatibility isn't something that happens by accident. It's an alignment that feels almost mathematical in its precision. While most people are content with chemistry, attraction, or a shared playlist, a Sigma male searches for something deeper, a connection that resonates on multiple frequencies at once: intellectual, emotional, moral, and spiritual. He treats compatibility like quantum physics because to him, love isn't random. It's a complex equation that only balances when every variable fits. He can't fake connection, and he can't stay where energy doesn't flow naturally. If a person's thoughts feel shallow, their emotions inconsistent, or their values unstable, the Sigma instantly senses the mismatch. He doesn't argue with it. He detaches. It's not arrogance, it's efficiency. He refuses to waste emotional bandwidth on something that feels almost right, but not exactly right. For him, almost is just a polite word for chaos waiting to happen. To most people, that level of selectiveness looks impossible, maybe even unrealistic. But the Sigma doesn't care about probability. He cares about purity of connection. He'd rather be alone for years than trapped in a relationship that only works on the surface. He knows that genuine compatibility isn't about shared hobbies or similar tastes. It's about shared silence that feels alive, conversations that expand both minds, and emotional honesty that doesn't require translation. The problem is, this kind of resonance is rare. It's why Sigma males so often walk alone. They can meet someone beautiful, intelligent, and kind, but if the wavelength is even slightly off, it feels like static to them. They need that unmistakable click, the kind that feels inevitable, almost fated. Anything less feels like pretending to sync with someone just because it's convenient or lonely. This is why they don't date around casually. To a Sigma, forced compatibility is worse than solitude. He'd rather wait for the rare person whose presence feels like harmony than waste time tuning into noise. It's not about being picky. It's about protecting the sanctity of real connection. And until that cosmic precision appears, the Sigma remains alone, not because he can't connect, but because he refuses to lower his frequency to fit where he doesn't belong. Number 12. They see emotional neediness as a subtle form of manipulation. Sigma males have an almost surgical sensitivity to emotional energy, and nothing drains them faster than neediness disguised as affection. To them, constant reassurance isn't romantic. It's a red flag. It signals that someone isn't seeking love. They're seeking a caretaker for their insecurity. And while most people might find that sweet or endearing, a Sigma sees it for what it really is: emotional blackmail in slow motion. They've learned that neediness rarely comes without an agenda. It starts subtly: a little guilt when they don't text fast enough, a sigh when they're unavailable, a sudden coldness when they set boundaries. Over time, that dependency turns into control. Every moment of reassurance given becomes a quiet tax on their peace. The Sigma senses this shift instinctively, the unspoken pressure to keep someone else emotionally balanced, even at the cost of his own mental clarity. That's not love to him. That's energy theft, wrapped in tenderness. He understands that everyone needs comfort at times, but he draws a sharp line between vulnerability and dependency. Vulnerability invites closeness. Dependency demands it. One deepens love, the other slowly erodes it. The Sigma male thrives on balance, give and take, not give and drain. When he feels that someone's happiness depends entirely on his responses, his instinct isn't to stay and fix it. It's to walk away before it becomes toxic. What frustrates people is that he won't play the savior. He won't be the emotional battery for someone who refuses to charge themselves. It's not cruelty, it's boundaries. He's spent too much of his life anchoring others, calming storms he didn't cause, and filling voids that weren't his to fill. He knows where that path leads: burnout, resentment, and self-erasure. So now he interprets emotional neediness as a quiet threat to his freedom. Because every "I just need you" eventually becomes "you're responsible for how I feel." And that, to a Sigma, is the death of authentic connection. He doesn't want to be needed. He wants to be chosen. He wants love that stands on its own 2 feet, not one that collapses without constant reassurance. To him, real intimacy isn't dependency. It's 2 whole people choosing peace over pressure. At the end of the day, Sigma males aren't cold, unfeeling, or commitment-phobic. They're just built differently. They move through the world with a depth that most people aren't prepared for. Their standards are silent, their boundaries are unshakable, and their solitude isn't a symptom of loneliness. It's the byproduct of self-respect. They don't chase relationships for comfort or validation. They seek connection that feels inevitable, something that challenges their mind, steadies their emotions, and doesn't demand that they shrink to fit inside someone else's expectations. To love a Sigma male is to understand that peace means more to him than attention. Authenticity means more than charm. And silence to him is not emptiness. It's truth without noise. He doesn't reject people easily. He just knows what it costs to lose himself in shallow company. He's been the healer, the mystery, the misunderstood loner. And through all of it, he's learned that protecting his energy isn't selfish. It's survival. The brutal reality is, most people fall in love with the idea of a Sigma male, not the reality of one. They crave his calm until they realize it won't revolve around them. They admire his independence until it no longer validates theirs. They love his strength until they notice it doesn't need saving, or saving them. And when the illusion breaks, they call him distant. But in truth, he's just protecting what the world keeps trying to dilute: his sense of self. Sigma males live by a different law, a private one. They don't settle, they don't chase, and they don't perform. When they love with intention. When they walk away, it's with peace. And when they're alone, it's not punishment, it's purpose. Their solitude is the forge where their clarity, focus, and depth are shaped. They'd rather wait a lifetime for something real than spend a single day pretending something empty is enough. So if you've ever wondered why Sigma males rarely have girlfriends, it's not because they can't connect. It's because they refuse to compromise what makes them powerful: authenticity, freedom, and self-awareness. And if that means walking this path alone a little longer, they'll do it proudly. Because for a Sigma, solitude isn't the absence of love. It's the presence of truth. If you found this video insightful, make sure to subscribe to the channel, like this video, and share it with someone who needs to hear this truth today. Drop your thoughts in the comments. We'd love to know which point resonated with you the most. Your support helps us keep creating powerful content that dives deep into the rare minds of Sigma males.